Hollow Knight is dripping with tantalizing lore, so I thought what better way to indulge in it than by making 5 lore-based charm builds. Besides, we need something to do until Silksong comes out. I thought it best we start with a spell build, since a lot of players out there undervalue spells, especially new players. And I understand why. I did the same thing at first, saving my soul for healing instead of casting spells. But the best defense is a good offense, and spells do a shit ton of damage. This is the Snail Shaman Sorcerer build. It's modeled somewhat off of Gandalf from Peter Jackson's movies, but as you likely know, we get our spells from the Snail Shamans, so it just makes sense to cast like one. The start of this build is pretty basic. Shaman Stone and Spell Twister are essential on any spell build. More damage is obvious, and although the reduced soul cost from Spell Twister is great, what is really good about it is the ability to cast 4 spells in a row before needing to refill the soul meter. But that is just the basics. Now, how do we use magic to protect ourselves in battle? Gandalf has a habit of using a shield of magic to protect himself, and the best way to emulate that is with Baldur's Shell. This lets you trade off a little soul by making a hard exterior shield that stops you from getting hit by an attack. But it doesn't stop there. It just so happens that Baldur's Shell combos perfectly with Shape of Un, allowing you to move while healing and holding up the Baldur shield. The fact that it makes you look like a snail is why it's so perfect for this Snail Shaman build. With those 4 charms, we're at 9 notches. With only 2 left, I think our best option is Soul Catcher. This build is going to be hungry for soul, so we could overcharm to take Soul Eater and Grubsong to really max out soul generation, but I can understand not wanting to be overcharmed in normal play. This really feels like playing as Gandalf, mixing up your nail and spells to generate soul and deal damage, and using soul to protect yourself with Baldur's Shell. If you don't use spells much, I really recommend trying a spell focus build out to see what you're missing. Now, I'm not going to leave my nail lovers in the dark. Since our first build was spell focused, this next one is all about melee damage. The Mantis Longblade. This of course means we need Unbreakable Strength. Like Shaman Stone does for the spell build, this simply maximizes our damage. Then Mark of Pride is actually found in the Mantis Village, so it makes perfect sense for this to be our thematic build-around charm. Mark of Pride increases our nail range by 25%. Now, on its own, I don't think the 25% makes that much of a difference, but when combined with Long Nail for an additional 15%, that becomes a total of a 40% range increase. Now this is actually huge and very noticeable, but why stop there? We have 3 notches left after those 3 charms, so why not increase it further by adding Grubberfly's Elegy. This is the Mantis Longblade after all. The additional beams fired by the nail only happen at full health, but with all the increased range, we're even less likely to take damage. Elegy is usually a non-bow with spell builds because the beams don't generate soul on impact, but that's not a problem for this build. Not only does this give us absurd range, but Mark of Pride actually increases the size of Elegy's projectiles, and Unbreakable Strength makes them deal 77% of nail damage instead of 50%. That's a deadly combination, and I think people tend to forget that at close range, enemies take your normal nail damage and the beam damage. You'll be devastating your enemies, and the beams remind me a little bit of the Mantis spinning blade attacks, so this is still very on our Mantis theme, and the charms synergize well. Real min-maxers might want Quick Slash instead of Grubberfly's Elegy, but I think the Elegy is a fun and underutilized choice. First we had a spell build, then a nail build, so third I thought we'd focus on a movement-based build. This is the Grim Troop Dancer. The base of our movement build is Dash Master and Sprint Master. This maximizes our mobility, and the two together increase the speed boost of Sprint Master from 20% to 39%. Your boy be zoomin'. I think that thematically, this build being more about dealing melee damage makes sense. We want to be moving around the battlefield, weaving in and out of attacks, and taking full control of our enhanced move speed. I think that makes Quick Slash and Steady Body our next 2 picks. Instead of maximizing on-hit damage, Quick Slash helps play into the go fast mentality by making all our attacks faster, and Steady Body is a heavily underrated charm in my opinion. This lets us keep pressure up and not be pushed away when making our Quick Slash attacks, and gives us absolute control over our movement and positioning. Finally, we of course need the appropriate Grim Troop charm. My personal choice is Carefree Melody. I imagine the random invulnerability it gives to be like parrying an attack in the midst of battle. Of course, if you don't banish the troop and keep Grimchild, then I think it still fits here. It turns our dance into a duet act with the Grimchild dealing range damage while we dance around our opponent. This also leaves one more notch that could be for Grubsong, Nailmaster's Glory, Wayward Compass of course, or I could see swapping Steady Body for Sharp Shadow, so that our our movement actually does damage, and combined with Dash Master, the Sharp Shadow damage increases to 1.5 times nail damage instead of the normal 1 times. Before we get to the next build in this video, I wanted to let you know that this video isn't sponsored by anyone in particular, but you can do all the normal button pressing to support the channel. Check out my merch stores for all kinds of cool swag, and I am affiliated with Green Man Gaming, and you can click the link in the description for great deals on games. How do you feel about flukes? Because we can't go this whole list without doing a build that really builds around a single charm. So for our 4th build, we have the Fluke Beetle. That of course makes Fluke Nest our build around charm. I feel like not many people use this charm because it's kind of weird. It turns Shade Soul into a swarm of void flukes that damage enemies. This trades the range of Shade Soul for increasing damage if you can hit all the flukes. This makes it like a shotgun spell build, more about getting in close than our previous Snail Shaman build. To get the most out of Fluke Nest, we're going to add our main 2 spell charms, Shaman Stone and Spell Twister. Shaman Stone increases the damage of each void fluke from 4 to 5. And with a total of 16 flukes, that is a whopping 80 total damage if we can hit every one. Double the normal Shaman Stone empowered Shade Soul. Spell Twister of course lets us cast more fireballs for less soul, but same as before, the really important thing here is letting us pump out 4 of these spells with a full soul meter instead of the normal 3. If all 4 were to hit, that would be a total of 320 damage, which half healths almost every boss in the game. Now since this build wants to get up close and personal, I think the best charm to finish the build off is Quick Slash. We want to build soul quickly, and Quick Slash can do this just as good if not better than charms like Soul Catcher and Soul Eater, since you get soul for each nail hit, and Quick Slash drastically increases the number of hits we can get at any given time. Soul Catcher and Grub Song might be a fine alternative, but I think Quick Slash really maximizes our damage on all fronts. With Silk Song just around the corner, maybe, I hope, please God, I thought it would only be appropriate we do a silk themed build. At number 5, we have the Deep Nest Soul Threader that tries to do a mixed damage build themed around Hornet and the denizens of Deep Nest. The Weavers used soul to weave spells and other crafts on their looms, including the Weaver Song charm. And it just so happens that Weaver Song is my favorite charm, so I'm thrilled to put this build together. In battle, Hornet uses a combination of fast attacks, strong movement, and even a few spell-like abilities with Gossamer Storm and her seemingly infinite amounts of silk and traps. Weaver Song has 2 main interactions. The first is with Sprint Master, causing the little Weaverlings to move 50% more quickly and able to deal more damage because of that. Since our movement is important to this kit, I think it makes sense to also have Dash Master to max out our options and get that combination bonus of Sprint Master and Dash Master. The second interaction is with Grub Song, which makes it so that the Weaverlings generate quite a bit of soul as they damage enemies. We're going to need to do something with all this extra passive soul, and the natural choice is to equip Shaman Stone to get some big damage out of any spells we cast. We've got movement and spells now, so to make this build truly versatile, we need something to improve nail damage. We're at 9 charm notches already, so there isn't space for charms like Unbreakable Strength or Quick Slash, but I feel like Hornet's fighting style is more about moving in and out with bigger hits or chip damage. So to me, Nailmaster's Glory is exactly what we want. We don't need much soul generation thanks to the Weaverlings, so charging up big hits with Nail Arts as we dash in and out of the fray is exactly where we want to be. Nail Arts don't scale with Unbreakable Strength, so by focusing on them, we aren't missing out by not having that charm. This leaves us with just 1 slot left. You could put the ever powerful Wayward Compass, maybe Thorns of Agony to act like a parrying counter when getting hit. On its own though, I don't think Thorns is very good. What I actually like here is Overcharming with Quick Focus. We will take double damage, but with all the soul from Weaver Song and Grub Song, coupled with our quick movement in and out of danger, having Quick Focus overcharmed may be better than not having it and not being overcharmed. You could also swap out Shaman Stone for it if you don't use spells very much. That's 5 new builds you can try out in your own game. Let me know if you want to see more videos like this one by liking it and commenting down below. There is an old one if you click to the left here. It's pretty bad, but the builds are cool, especially the Barbarian one. I like it a lot. Remember to check the description for links to everywhere on the internet that you can find me and the best ways to support me and all that sweet video content. Until the next time.